My parents used my wedding fund for my twins' lavish party, so I cut them off. Now they need my help. Hey everyone, I'm Your Name, and today I'm sharing a deeply personal story. For as long as I can remember, there's been a silent rivalry between my twin sister Emily and me. While sibling rivalry is normal, in our case, my parents actually encouraged it without even realizing. They always treated Emily like she was special, and I'm about to tell you why. Emily arrived precisely 12 minutes before me. You heard that right, 12 minutes. Apparently, that's all it takes to become the golden child in my family. Emily was their miracle baby, the one who could do no wrong from the moment we were born. I wasn't a bad kid, but she always got the credit no matter what I did. I first noticed this favoritism in kindergarten. We were both in the school play, Little Red Riding Hood. I landed the lead role, while Emily had 2 lines as a flower. During the performance, Emily forgot her lines and started crying on stage. My parents completely missed my entire performance as they rushed to console her. That evening, they didn't even acknowledge my accomplishment. All they could talk about was Emily's bravery for trying. This pattern continued throughout elementary school. If Emily got a C on a test, they'd say, "Oh, honey, you tried your best." But if I got straight A's, I was barely noticed. I remember spending weeks in 4th grade on a science fair project about renewable energy. I researched, built models, and even interviewed local environmental specialists. When I handed my parents the blue ribbon for first place, they barely glanced at it. Emily had a tough day at volleyball practice, but that's still wonderful. Can we talk about this later? After that, I stopped showing them my awards. The worst part was, they didn't even try to hide their partiality. My dad would joke at family gatherings about Emily being their firstborn, and how those 12 minutes somehow made her the older sister. "Emily's our responsible one," he'd say. "She looks after her younger sister." Standing there, hearing them reduce me to Emily's shadow and nothing more, really hurt. The psychological impact and the revelation in middle school, this started to have a significant psychological impact on me. I became incredibly driven to prove myself. I joined every club I could: student council, debate team, math club. I pushed myself to excel, studying late into the night. Emily, meanwhile, just coasted, doing very little but still getting more attention and recognition. One incident really stands out. In 8th grade, I was chosen to represent our school at the state math competition. I prepared for months, often, studying until 2 or 3 a.m. Emily had a recreational soccer game the same day. Not only did my parents not show up to support me, they didn't even ask how I did. When I brought home the 2nd place trophy, all they could talk about was how Emily needed cheering up because her team had lost their game. High school was more of the same. I juggled extracurriculars, all AP classes, and maintained a 4.0 GPA. Emily spent most of her time at parties and barely kept a C average. Yet, she was still the fun and social one, and I was criticized for being too competitive and serious. The disparity became glaringly obvious our senior year. Because of my academic achievements, I was named valedictorian, accepted on a full scholarship to a top university, and even had an article in the local newspaper. Emily barely graduated and enrolled at community college. Yet, my parents spent our entire graduation celebration, which was supposed to be for both of us, lamenting Emily's failure to get into her first-choice school. They didn't even mention my accomplishments in their speech. The turning point came in college. I maintained perfect grades while working part-time to support myself at a prestigious computer science program. Every break, I'd return home hoping something had changed, that maybe my parents had finally started to see my worth. Instead, it was always Emily this and Emily that. Her decision to drop out of community college after just 1 semester was somehow spun as a sign of her bravery for following her own path. Then, during Thanksgiving break of my junior year, everything changed. My uncle, who always had a bit too much to drink at family gatherings, made a slip-up. While reminiscing about my mom's pregnancy, he revealed that my parents never intended to have twins. They were devastated to learn they were expecting two children when they only wanted one. My dad, ever the passive one, just shrugged and said, "We'll figure it out." My mom was worried about how they'd handle two babies. Their method of figuring it out was to essentially pick a favorite and focus all their energy on her, Emily, their cherished firstborn. In their minds, those crucial 12 minutes made all the difference. As my uncle confessed this to me at the dinner table, years of wondering why they didn't care about my accomplishments suddenly fell into perspective. It all made perfect sense. I was the afterthought, the unexpected addition, not the child they had hoped for. Taking control and the final straw, something in me shifted after that realization. I stopped trying to please them. Instead, I poured all my energy into building my own life. I gave my all to my coursework and internships, driven to succeed for myself, not for them. By the time I graduated, I had multiple job offers from top tech companies. I accepted a software engineer position at a promising startup, and after 3 years, I was promoted to senior developer. Meanwhile, Emily met a wealthy man at a bar, had a whirlwind romance, and began planning a ridiculously lavish wedding. Naturally, my parents were ecstatic. They couldn't even remember the name of my company, yet they spent hours on the phone with her, discussing every wedding detail. The irony was, my company was preparing for an IPO, and my stock options were worth more than Emily's fiancé made in a year. I was actually doing incredibly well, but they never once asked about my career. It was the wedding fund situation that finally broke my heart. Our grandmother, the only one who ever treated us fairly, left each of us a significant sum of money before she died, specifically for our future weddings. She was very clear that we were to share the money evenly. She even told me privately that she was aware of my parents' treatment of me, and that this was her way of ensuring I'd have something, exclusively mine. Of course, my parents couldn't honor her wishes. Emily wanted a ridiculously lavish wedding. Celebrity photographer, designer gown, multiple venues. Instead of urging her to cut back or asking her wealthy fiancé to contribute more, they decided to take my share of the inheritance. They didn't even tell me. They didn't ask. It wasn't until months after the wedding that my inebriated uncle, yes, the same one, brought it up at another family gathering. When I confronted them, they responded angrily. "Oh, honey," my mother said dismissively, waving her hand. "We were going to tell you eventually. We'll reimburse you when we can." Even worse was my father's reply. "Well, Emily needed it more. She's the conventional one, getting married, and since you're so preoccupied with your work, it's unlikely you'd even want a lavish wedding." I stood in their kitchen, staring at these people who were supposed to be my parents, and felt nothing. Just a deep emptiness, without any sadness or rage. They couldn't even comprehend the wrongness of what they had done. They truly believed that because it was for Emily, it was perfectly acceptable to take my inheritance without my consent. Emily had always been the focus, the cutoff and the new beginning. I returned to my apartment that evening and replayed my life. I realized that every significant milestone, achievement, and proud moment had been overshadowed or completely disregarded by Emily. My high school. Graduation? They were too busy comforting Emily over her grades. My college scholarship? Barely acknowledged due to Emily's difficulties at community college. My first promotion? Ignored because Emily was busy planning her wedding. I opened my laptop and did what I should have done years ago. I emailed them. "I am aware of the wedding fund. I am aware that you used my inheritance to pay for Emily's wedding without consulting me. The way you've treated me my entire life is more important than the money. You never made an effort to hide the fact that I was never the daughter you desired. I'm done trying to win your affection and acceptance. I'm done being the kid you didn't want. Do not contact me again unless it is to repay my money. Please." As I hit send, blocked their numbers, and deleted them from all social media, a tremendous weight lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to worry about trying to meet Emily's standards or gaining acceptance I would never receive. It's been a life-changing year. I poured all my attention into my job and personal development. Our company's IPO was a success, and my stock options are now worth more than Emily's entire wedding expenses. I started therapy to address my childhood trauma, bought my own home in a desirable part of the city, and formed genuine friendships with people who truly respect me for who I am. Occasionally, Emily tries to connect through distant relatives or mutual friends. She'll write things like, "Family should stick together," or "You're still my sister." But where was this sense of family when she happily received my inheritance for her wedding? Where was that when she saw our parents disregard my accomplishments for years? She was complicit in everything. Some relatives have tried to blame me, claiming I'm being too severe, that blood is thicker than water, and other such things. However, these are the same people who silently observed my parents' years-long favoritism of Emily. They stayed silent while witnessing my treatment. They no longer have a right to an opinion. It's interesting because cutting them off has made me realize who my true family is. My therapist, who helps me see that none of this was my fault. My coworkers, who applaud my accomplishments. And my college best friend, who helped me move into my new home. These are the ones who genuinely care about me. I've been offered a team lead role at my firm, which recently launched a new office in a different state. For the first time in my life, I'm making a decision without considering how it will compare to Emily or what my parents will say. It's a great opportunity, and it feels amazing to be living my life for myself. Am I the jerk for cutting them off? Entirely, Reddit? I often wonder if I'm being overly dramatic. But every time I consider getting back in touch with them, I remember all the years I spent feeling inadequate, and I know I made the correct decision. It's going to get even more complicated now, though, and I need your honest thoughts on what I should do next. Update 1. The call and the conflict 2 weeks ago, everything changed drastically. My phone started ringing with multiple calls from my uncle in the middle of a team meeting. My first instinct was to ignore it. Family calls always signal turmoil. But there was something unique about receiving so many calls in quick succession. So I decided to answer. "Hey, it's Uncle Greg," he began, his voice a little shaky. I knew immediately something was wrong. He's usually the type of guy who stays positive, even in adversity. "I need to talk to you about your parents." I felt sick to my stomach. I hadn't heard from them in 2 years, so I knew this couldn't be good news. "What's happening?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "They were in an accident. A pretty bad one. They're in the hospital." He paused, and I heard him take a deep breath. "Their car was hit by a truck that ran a red light. Your dad is in critical condition and your mom has multiple fractures. They've been in the hospital for a few days." "Days?" I repeated, my voice rising. "And no one thought to tell me until now?" "They wanted me to let you know," he said in a calmer tone. "I think they want to see you. I don't think that's all, though. Their insurance is having issues." Of course. He went on to tell me that 6 months prior, my parents had allowed their health insurance to lapse. They'd been having financial difficulties due to credit card debt and poor investments. They were far from being discharged, and the medical bills were already mounting. "What about Emily?" I asked, knowing the answer already. Uncle Greg sighed. "She said she couldn't help with the bills when she visited once, immediately after the accident. She didn't want to ask her husband for money so soon after their honeymoon. For some reason, she's occupied with her stepchildren, her new family." That made me chuckle. Typical Emily, always with an excuse. Emily was too proud to ask her wealthy husband for help with our parents' medical expenses, even though she had no trouble taking my fortune for her wedding. After I hung up with Uncle Greg, I sat in my office for a while, gazing out the window at the city skyline. I didn't miss the irony. Now that my stock options had vested, I had more than enough money saved to pay for their medical expenses. I was truly in a position to help them. But did I want to? For the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything else. My phone buzzed and I jumped every time, anticipating a call about their status. I couldn't stop picturing them in hospital beds, presumably wondering if I would ever arrive. They were my parents, and I felt bad for even considering not helping. But then the years of favoritism, the stolen inheritance, and the way they only contacted me now because they needed something from me all came rushing back. Simply put, this was about money, not about reconnecting or making amends. 3 days after Uncle Greg called, Emily texted me, "I know you're doing well at work. Parents are in dire need of assistance. This is your opportunity to act morally." My opportunity to act morally? Where was this moral compass when she was using my inheritance to pay for her wedding? Where had she been all those years when she saw our parents brush off my accomplishments? After a week of internal conflict, my parents finally called themselves. My mother's speech was weak, obviously influenced by painkillers, but her manipulative tactics remained the same. It was as if the past 2 years of silence hadn't occurred. "Sweetheart," she began, "we're in a really tough situation here. According to the specialist, the expenses might reach $200,000, not including rehabilitation. We acknowledge our shortcomings as parents, but—" "No, you aren't," I interrupted her. "And you never will be. You haven't gotten in touch with me in 2 years, and the only reason is that you need money. That's not fair," my dad's voice said, probably on speaker. "We're your parents. Family supports family. That statement, 'family helps family,' set me off. The anger that had been bottled up for years finally surfaced. 'Family helps family,'" I repeated. "Where was that feeling when you used my inheritance to pay for Emily's wedding? Where were you when you missed my college graduation? Where did you neglect every significant event in my life because you were too preoccupied with showing your admiration for Emily?" After a brief silence, my mother began to cry. Those familiar cunning tears I had heard so many times when she wanted to make me feel bad. "How can you be so cruel? The hospital is where we are. Your dad may require surgery. Will you truly desert us at this point?" I inhaled deeply before uttering the words I had been wishing to say for years. "Yes, in fact, yes, I am. All my life, you emotionally abandoned me. You just thought of me as Emily's shadow and your fallback option. Now that Emily is refusing to assist, you turn to me? No, I will no longer be your last option." "But we're family," my father said. "No," I cut in. "We're not. We haven't been family since you decided that Emily was the only child deserving of your love. I'm finished. Never get in touch with me again." After hanging up, I blocked their numbers once more. I then texted Emily one last time, saying, "They're also your parents. Try it yourself." The days that followed were extremely difficult. I would always have these moments where I would doubt my choice. Was I being too severe? Should I still assist them despite everything? But every time those thoughts surfaced, I was reminded of how they had treated me throughout my life and how they had only ever contacted me when they wanted something. Yesterday, Uncle Greg called again. He attempted to guilt-trip me by claiming that my parents required physical therapy and surgery since their health was deteriorating. He said they might lose everything and that they were discussing remortgaging their home. The problem is, I have no responsibility for their financial difficulties. They made their decisions. They decided to give Emily preference. They decided to squander the money I left them. They decided to allow their insurance to expire. They are currently dealing with the fallout from their decisions. Some may accuse me of being heartless. Perhaps I am. But I've been striving to be good enough and win their love my entire life. And I'm done. I am no longer the fallback option when Emily refuses to take charge. I'm done being the one who has to make all the repairs. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. Even though I realize this makes me seem callous, my mental well-being is more important to me than their guilt trips. My financial stability is more important to me than their shoddy planning. Reddit. I know I previously questioned whether I was the jerk for cutting them off, but I need to know if I'm the jerk for not helping them pay their medical costs. This one even seems unclear to my therapist. While I feel bad about it, I also think that this is just another instance of them only wanting me around when they need me. And believe me, the narrative doesn't end here. The situation is going to become considerably more intricate. Update 2. The confrontation and the final farewell. My life took yet another drastic turn 3 days ago. I was enjoying a peaceful evening at home after a very demanding work day, during which we had completed preparations for the opening of our new office. I was studying some project paperwork, enjoying a glass of pricey red wine, a minor luxury I now permit myself, and some classical music playing softly in the background. My doorbell rang at precisely 8:07 p.m. I hadn't ordered anything, and most of my friends normally text before coming over, so I wasn't expecting anyone. I froze, staring through the peephole. Emily was standing there, looking like the affluent trophy wife she had become, complete with a fashionable gown, flawless makeup, and a $15,000 Hermes Birkin purse in her hand. I was aware of the irony. That bag alone could have paid for a sizable amount of our parents' medical expenses. I briefly thought about acting as though I wasn't home, but throughout the previous few weeks, I had undergone a transformation. I was no longer the person who squirmed around Emily. She had intimidated me for too long, and I had allowed her to win. No more. I opened the door with my cool, controlled, slightly dismissive corporate boardroom demeanor. Leaning against the doorframe, I remarked, "Well, if it isn't my dear sister, what brings you to my humble abode?" Without waiting for an invitation, she swept past me and entered my apartment, Emily's usual behavior. Her gaze swept across my living area, taking in the original artwork on the walls, the contemporary furnishings, and the floor-to-ceiling. Windows that overlooked the city. I could picture her mentally listing everything, most likely contrasting it with her suburban McMansion. "Nice place," she said in a tone that suggested the exact opposite. "Very cozy." She used the word cozy with that special emphasis that affluent people give to something they think is beneath them. "Stop wasting your time, Emily. Why have you come here?" She turned to me, adjusting her scarf, an anxious habit from childhood. "Mom and Dad are deteriorating. Mom's physical therapy isn't covered by their payment plan, and Dad needs emergency surgery for internal bleeding they missed at first. Unless they can provide proof of payment, the hospital threatens to suspend treatment. They are discussing selling the house." I saw her knuckles whiten as she gripped her fancy purse more tightly. Classic Emily. She was clearly preparing for something, and that's my problem because... I arched an eyebrow, purposefully imitating her patronizing tone from our early years. "Because you can help them," she said, her immaculate exterior beginning to falter. "I am aware that your business went public. I checked the pricing of the stocks. I conducted research. You've got the cash." That made me chuckle, the sound perhaps rougher than I intended, reverberating off the walls of my apartment. "Oh, you have been monitoring me. How intriguing. Before using my inheritance to pay for your wedding, did you do this much research? Or prior to your own refusal to assist them in all this? Where is your wealthy husband?" Emily's face turned red, another vivid memory from my early years. Her dramatic outbursts, which always ended with our parents comforting her, were always preceded by that flush when we were little. "That's different," she stammered as her poise continued to falter. "I now have a new family. I have obligations. Consider stepchildren. We each have our own financial plans, James and I. When a family situation arises, I can't just throw money at it." "Can't just what?" With a strong voice, I interrupted her. "Can't you simply assist your parents who have given you everything? Who paid for your wedding with my inheritance? Who prioritized you the most? Who didn't attend my college graduation to assist you with your apartment move? Those parents?" She waved her hand dismissively and said, "That's history. This is right. Now, you're being selfish, and they need help." Her use of the word selfish was the last straw. A lifetime of repressed rage and bitterness abruptly solidified into a chilly, unambiguous goal. I went silently to my home office, picked up my laptop and a few papers off my desk, and then went back to the living room. Emily, would you like to discuss money? Let's have a conversation. I rotated the screen of my portfolio dashboard in her direction. Look at these figures. These are my stock options. I'll explain it to you in words you can comprehend. This is worth more than James, your husband, will be in 3 years. That home of which you're so proud. If I wanted to, I could pay cash for it tomorrow. As she gazed at the numbers, her face turned white instead of crimson. I went on, bringing up papers such as my investment portfolio, my pay stubs, and the most recent offers I had gotten from rival businesses. But you're a tech worker, she stumbled. For the first time I could recall. You're just a programmer. Her voice was small. Emily, I'm now a senior development director. I was making something for myself while you and your wealthy husband were playing house. I also did it without treading on anyone else, unlike you. I clicked firmly to shut down my laptop. Without using any of my resources, I could assist Mom and Dad by covering their medical expenses. However, I won't. You're being cruel, she murmured. But I could see that she realized that her younger sister had outwitted her. No, it is terrible to stand by and do nothing while your sister has been ignored her entire life without asking. Cruel is stealing her inheritance. Cruel only shows up at her door when you're in need. I approached the door and pulled it open. Are we finished here? Don't return. Clutching her pricey purse like a shield, she stood there. She made one final attempt to say, "You'll regret this when they lose everything." But her voice lacked the assurance it usually possessed. My only regret is that I didn't cut you all off sooner, Emily. Goodbye. I poured myself another glass of wine after she left, a $200 bottle I had been putting away for a special occasion, and this one felt like it. And then I went out to my balcony. In front of me, the city lights were a tapestry of freedom and opportunity. I felt totally free for the first time in my life. No more living in Emily's shadow, no more feeling guilty, no more looking for approval. My phone was inundated with notifications the following morning. Apparently, Emily had spent the night phoning every member of the family she could get through to, telling them how I had changed, how prosperity had made me callous and uncaring, and how I was leaving the family when they needed me most. Uncle Greg wrote me a very long email on karma and family responsibilities. In response, I shared a comprehensive folder with the family group chat. It included scanned copies of my inheritance documents, bank statements that revealed how my money was used for Emily's wedding, text messages from Emily stating that she would not assist with the medical bills despite her affluent lifestyle, and a breakdown of my current net worth that showed exactly how much I could contribute if I so desired. After that, the family conversation became very silent. Our cousin Angela was the only one to reply. "Holy, you actually did it, didn't you? In fact, you were successful on your own." I worked on my future plans over the course of the following few days. I accepted the promotion in another state, which came with a bigger package of stock options and a substantial raise. The real estate agent believes my apartment will sell for a lot more than I'm asking for in this neighborhood, so I put it up for sale. I've already begun searching for real estate in my new city. This time, perhaps a penthouse. Emily sent me one last text last night, which said, "Mom's crying every night because of you." I commented, she had years to cry about how she treated me, and included a screenshot of my inheritance paperwork in my response. Her tears are no longer effective. After that, I blocked her number and all of my other family contacts. It felt like closing the last chapter of a book I should have finished years ago. You have been amazing during this journey, Reddit. Your encouragement made it clear to me that I wasn't alone in my feelings and that it's acceptable to put oneself above harmful family members. Your remarks served as a constant reminder of my decision-making process whenever I had second thoughts. Recently, I received a message questioning if achieving financial success was worth sacrificing my family. The truth is, though, that I didn't lose any folks who never treated me like family in the first place. I broke free from them. My achievement just gave me the courage to refuse their treatment. It didn't change who I am. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who told me similar stories, gave me advice, or just confirmed how I felt when I most needed strength. You gave it to me. I will begin looking for a home in my new city next week. A new life, a new career, and a new home. For the first time, I'm looking forward to the future without being constrained by obligations to my family. A jerk to some, perhaps. However, I've come to the crucial realization that sometimes being branded an a-hole by toxic individuals is a sign that you're finally advocating for yourself. Reddit, thank you. I was able to discover my value and voice thanks to you. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.